Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I have 2 Christmas cards and a bonus for you. Really simple, using a background stamp and then a fun alphabet set. Now the background stamp that I'm using today is a city block background, and I'm going to combine it with the Spell Anything alphabet die from My Favorite Things. Both items I got with my prize from the annual card making contest, and as soon as it arrived here I was so happy with this alphabet, by the way, because I wanted it when it came out, and then budget wise I couldn't get it, so this prize really helped me get some things that I had on my wish list for a really long time. So for my background, I'm using this gravel ink from the stamp market. I'm going to stamp it out twice because there are so many options to create with just an alphabet set and a cool background stamp set, that I wanted to show you multiple ways of using this background, but also using the same products but getting completely different results. So my first idea was to have a really soft background, like a tiny bit of what I did with like snowflakes from Hello Bluebird in a past video, where I did really simple cards as well, and just having something on the background can already avoid having that really big white space when creating clean and simple cards. Now this one is for my bonus card. You can take any colored cardstock that you want. I really wanted to use white embossing powder, so I took this really dark blue. It's the Midnight, if I'm not mistaken, by Concord and 9th, to stamp my background on. You can also stamp this and do some clear heat embossing, which is also really cool. You just have that shine, which is subtle but still there. I went for white. I used it in the past as well on this cardstock. I love the difference between that white and then the blue. It's stunning, but you can use any color you want. Now I heat set this completely, and then I could start with the sentiments. Well, these cards are all about that subtle background, except for this one that's really out there, but I actually looked for some really simple short Christmas greetings online, and I came up with a few that I really liked. There is one that is so perfect for this background stamp. I was so amazed by it, and I was like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna use. But I searched for multiple because I wanted to show you several ideas with the same things. So I'm not going to repeat the sentiments, I'm going to show each time another one. Now the thing that you can do with the sentiments is that you can, like what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a rainbow. You can do that as well, or just have a specific combination that you really love with just colored cardstock. That's one thing. Then the other thing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to color a gradient on top of my letters myself with Copics, but you can also watercolor on them, or you can ink blend on them. That's what I didn't do, but that's definitely also an option. And then you can just use white ones or one color. That's what I'm also going to show you on this background. Now to just give it a bit of interest, I decided to ink blend a tiny bit of white pigment ink here on that dark background. You don't need to, you can definitely leave that off, but I wanted to create kind of a snowy kind of feel, and so I added that white on top, and later on I will also splatter some white gouache all over. Now I've die cut every background with the basic rectangles from my elephant. Any basic rectangle kind of die does the trick. It's just to create an A2 size panel. And then for the rainbow sentiment, I went with Happy New Year because it's really festive. It's a bit more neutral in color choices for me. I love using like the regular Christmas colors whenever I'm creating a Christmas sentiment or card. So I use the rainbow for Happy New Year. Now these are all cardstocks from Concord and 9th. The only thing that I did do was I ink blended a tiny bit of Twisted Citron on top of the green one, because it's a really soft green and it just wasn't standing out enough with all of the other colors. So I'm using tons of present seal today, which is a really handy thing to have here. It will well, it will help you to lift everything up exactly where you placed it. And I traced 2 corners every time to just help me get everything again back in place. Now my favorite sentiment for this background is Home for Christmas. Truly, I mean, there are all these houses, it's just perfect. I decided to go with reds. It's for Christmas, as I said. I really love like the regular colors, like the traditional kind of thing. You can definitely switch it up if you want to. I just wanted this red to stand out from the white background. Now I'm doing this again. If you prefer ink blending, you can also do some ink blending here instead of coloring. I'm just showing you quickly what I'm doing for the complete sentiment, but I'm not going to bore you with all of the coloring. So I just have my 3 red markers here, and I'm creating a gradient. I'm doing everything the same on all of the letters, like the darkest color is on the bottom, and then I'm working my way upwards towards my lightest marker. In case you want later on to revisit what I use for which card, I have everything listed on my blog post for each card that I'm creating today. So I'm just making sure that I like the blend on the letters, and then I continue to all of the rest. So the paper that I'm using here is Transotype Perfect Coloring Paper. It's just the paper that I use all the time for Copic coloring, but I also use this paper for ink blending, for stamping things on, so everything is the same paper here. As you can see, my craft mat really got a lot of ink on it, but it's really easy to get this alcohol ink off. I just use some alcohol gel for my hands, and I get a wipe, and then I go over my craft mat here. So after placing the other sentiment kind of wonky, I really love that, and I just think that specifically this alphabet set lends itself towards it because it's a bit a wonky kind of style, really fun one. Again, you can recreate this card with other background stems with maybe a color in the background. Another alphabet set, just make sure that the alphabet set that you're using is big enough for the area that you want to use it on. If you have a smaller, if you have an alphabet set that has smaller letters, then maybe try to trim your rectangle where you're working on smaller and have a wide border on your card. That's also a way that you can let that sentiment stand out, even though it's a smaller one. So I did use some liquid glue on the back of the sentiments. You can also cut your foam adhesive smaller to fit behind, but I'm not that patient. So I just went with the liquid glue here as well, and on the other card I will do the same as well. And then I will lift up that present seal, put it on top of my panel, looking at those 2 corners that I traced there, and then let it fall down, press it down, and put something heavy on it so that it can dry flat. Now these 2 cards came together really quick. The blue card there, I had several ideas. You can also use one colorful cardstock for your sentiment, or maybe even a rainbow if you want to. I in the end ended up with white because the color that I wanted to use really wasn't working. So here I have 2 panels. You can leave them as they are, but I am going to embellish them with some heart sprinkles. I took these rainbow heart sprinkles. These are from Studio Katia, but I'm also using some from Trinity stems. So these are from Trinity stems. The colorful ones are from Studio Katia. There are several brands that have these sprinkles, heart sprinkles. I truly adore them. And actually I think it's the first time that I used the ones from Studio Katia because they are really kind of bright, and I most of the time go for white or reds. But in this case, with the rainbow, I thought, well, maybe I can just find a heart for every area and just have fun a bit with all of the colors. So I did that on the Happy New Year card. And then for the Home for Christmas, I tried everything. And the red ones are really lovely. White ones is always a thing you can do. If you don't know, go for white, I would say. But in this case, the red kind of was the red that well, the lightest marker that I used for my combination, so it was kind of match made in heaven. And so I placed it a bit everywhere. Since these sentiments are different, I couldn't reuse the specific placement that I had on the other card. But if you're recreating and you love the same sentiment, but it's always a possibility, then you can definitely use the same placement for the embellishments that you might want to use as well. And then once these two are finished, we are going to tackle that blue one. That gave me a bit of headache, but I think it's actually my favorite from them all. Maybe because it's just so different from the two others. And I also really love the Happy New Year. I haven't made a lot of New Year kind of themed cards. I most of the time go for Christmas. I think, well, everyone sends their cards kind of the same period, so you can use like both themes for the same two, I think so. Well, here I went for the Let It Snow, and I first thought that I wanted that tittle of the eye with the heart, as it is die cut, because that heart is really lovely. But then I again started fiddling with the heart sprinkles, and it just was too bold. Like the heart shape, it just wasn't feeling right with the sprinkles, so I removed that heart, although it was already stuck. I removed the heart tittle there, and I replaced it by a red heart. So as you can see here, I think the strength of the white cardstock is just there because we have the white embossing in the back, and the letters are kind of big, so that the embossing isn't distracting too much from the letters itself. And here, well, first of all, I thought I'm going white with my embellishments. Definitely an option. And then I tried the red and it was just popping. And so I decided to change it all up and use red hearts all over. I think the pink ones would work as well, but I didn't even try, I think. So we will never know. Yes, we know it will also work. But I really love the reds on this blue cardstock. So once those hearts were on there, I realized that I didn't splatter whitewash all over, and I was a bit bothered by that, and I contemplated because you can leave it as is, but I'm just going to add the splatters, which I intended originally to do. The only thing now what happened was that I splattered my red hearts as well and the letters, but the letters are white, so that isn't really bothering me. The white splatters on the heart, first I thought it's going to be really ugly, but I actually don't mind, so I left them. If you mind the embellishments that you might use, you can wipe them if you want to. So they are kind of like the plastic kind of thing, so they will resist the moisture that you're adding. The paint will not. So that can be a solution in case you're like me and you have an afterthought. So once this is on top, that makes this my third card. So this is the bonus card for today. The same principle, but just another execution. And I think that there are so many ways that you can recreate your cards like this, still have tons of other cards, not having to mass produce the same thing over and over, but each time change it a bit, and it's still interesting like that. So yeah, these are my 3 cards for today. I hope that I could inspire you. Maybe you want to make something similar. Thank you so much for being here. I wish you all an incredible day, and I'll be back soon with some new crafty inspiration. Bye!